A new premium class route launches between Hong Kong and London. Doomed to failure, or might it just beat the big boys at their own game?
I don't think we can support very many all business class services from Asia. I think it'll be very challenging.
Also in this week's programme, we meet the man who says he can show you how to work less and travel more.
And later on the Fast Track Travel Clinic, Houston, could you have a problem changing planes in just 1 hour? And where to find a bargain bed in London this summer.
Hello, I'm Fiona Foster. Welcome to Fast Track. Now, someone very high up in the aviation industry, who shall remain nameless, once said the best way to become a millionaire is to start off as a billionaire and set up an airline. Yes, the costs of aviation can be eye-watering. But the rising cost of fuel and the uncertain global economy hasn't stopped one small regional carrier in Hong Kong from launching a new daily business-only service from Hong Kong to London. So can they succeed in making a premium product work where others have failed? Carmen Roberts has been finding out.
A cheery welcome on board Hong Kong Airlines business class only route from London Gatwick to Hong Kong. Inside, the Club Classic cabin is kitted out with cradle-style business class seats, or you could be lying flat if you opt for Club Premium. Tickets start at around $2,800 US. That's roughly half the price of its competitors. London to Hong Kong is indeed a lucrative and busy business route, and the initial reaction has been positive.
Sure, it sounds quite great, you know.
I'd be interested. I think it's good for customer, more choice, obviously.
To give everyone a chance to, fly the business class, then that's wonderful.
But competition is rife. The route is currently serviced by Air New Zealand, British Airways, Cathay Pacific and Virgin Atlantic. And although BA will soon be adding 3 extra flights a week to Hong Kong, its Aussie counterpart Qantas has decided to bow out of the race. Some hope this increased competition from London to Asia could spark a price war.
So certainly for me, when I'm booking a flight, price is an important factor. But for high-flying business travellers, there's other things to consider, like reliability, the convenience of flight times, and not to mention notching up those all-important air miles.
I would try to fly certain airlines to accrue miles, but more importantly is my schedule and the comfort.
Most of the business travelers like me do look for a program that does build in loyalty and which is good for the airline and the passenger.
While the price might be right, Hong Kong Airlines isn't part of any alliance as yet.
I think that it would be a slight disadvantage because then you can't really utilise your miles to other airlines if you do need to use the other airlines.
Well, not really, because at the end of the day, as you mentioned, that the price is good. So we are already getting a value out of it. So I don't think that it matters a lot.
And let's not forget that this is an industry that's chewed up and spat out all business class offerings in the past. Transatlantic premium carriers MaxJet, Silverjet and EOS all collapsed in the financial crisis around 2008. British Airways proved to be the last man standing with its business class only flights between London City Airport and New York.
It opened our eyes. They came in at a similar time actually. There were 2 or 3 of them at the same time. They came in with some extremely aggressive pricing. The customer will accept those aggressive prices for a while, but you need to clearly be profitable. They weren't able to do that as and when they wanted to put their prices up.
Some of them will fall by the wayside. I don't think we can support very many all business class services from Asia. I think it'll be very challenging. But I think that you could do it on certain routes.
But Hong Kong Airlines is certain this route will prove profitable for its Chinese backers.
Hong Kong Airlines is part of a much larger group, the HNA Group, which is a very established conglomerate in China, not only interested in aviation but also in real estate, hotels, airport management. And what is very interesting to observe is that Hong Kong Airlines is one of a family of 8 airlines within that group. So that also offers us the opportunity to share a very extensive network within China.
You need to be in alliance in the airline world these days. Whether it's frequent flyer points, whether it's just more choice, flexibility. The customer is very demanding. They want value for money. If you're a standalone operator, the challenge there is that you don't have those alliances.
The challenge to it is making enough money in the good times and the bad times. Historically, what we've seen is that when an economic crisis hits, the first thing to go is premium class. People stop flying business class because they want to cut costs. Companies want to cut costs. And that's going to be the challenge.
Singapore Airlines, running an expensive set of planes, the A340s, on their ultra-premium routes, are confident they can weather any economic storm.
We take a long-term approach. This is a business where there are ups and downs regularly, economic downturns come and go. And yes, the premium class travel market does, of course, get affected whenever there's a downturn. But what we've seen in the past is that it's the market that comes back the strongest whenever there's a recovery.
To break even, Hong Kong Airlines needs to fly planes that are at least 3/4 full for the first 6 months. But with soaring fuel prices and 4 airlines currently operating 8 daily non-stop flights from London to Hong Kong, it's got its work cut out.
Carmen Roberts reporting on the new kid on the business class block, Hong Kong Airlines, hoping to succeed where others have failed in turning premium products into profit. Now let's have a look at what else is making news in travel this week.
Security's been strengthened on the resort island of Bali following police raids which left 5 people dead. A police spokesman says maximum security for tourists is still guaranteed. The raids targeted suspected terrorist groups on the south coast in areas popular with holidaymakers. Older passengers could face slightly easier security measures at US airports in the future. The Transportation Security Administration is testing new ways it can reduce, though not eliminate, pat-downs for the over 75s. It's being trialled initially at 4 airports around the country: O'Hare in Chicago, Denver, Portland and Orlando. Ryanair's policy of charging customers more for emergency exit seats is coming under scrutiny. Ireland's air safety regulators opened an investigation. It has concerns the cost means those seats are sometimes being left empty, and that could cause problems in an emergency. A number of other airlines have begun levying a similar fee in recent years. And finally, panda droppings. Not that plentiful and definitely not that tasty. If you're in southwest China in the near future, though, you may well be able to drink green tea grown in them. One businessman says he's going to sell each steaming cup for $200 each. Apparently the dung makes excellent fertilizer.
And if any of those stories are going to affect your travels, do write to us at our usual address. That's fasttrack@bbc.com, and let us know what you think. And that's what many of you did following our special programme from Mexico last month. Here's a reminder of Rajan's visit to the once swinging hotspot of Acapulco, which has suffered a downturn since the drug cartels moved in.
But now there's a problem. It may not be immediately evident to tourists, but it's reflected in the sizable military and police presence here.
Well, on his trip to Mexico, Rajan visited several different cities and discovered many different sides to life in the country. But it was his look at how drug-related crime affected Acapulco that had many of you writing in. And it's fair to say, many of you were critical. Anna Archdale, who lives in Acapulco, emailed to say,
Shame on you for your recent coverage, which was shoddy and shallow. This was last year's news, and although we had a few bad months, things are under control and the season is in full swing. There is optimism in the air and investment is booming.
Marcella Evans wrote from the United States to say we'd overlooked an important point.
I challenge you to give me the name of one tourist who's been harmed in Acapulco over recent years.
Well, in our defence, Rajan did say it was very rare for tourists to be affected by the drug-related crime in Acapulco. But he did come across several businesses who are struggling because of tourists staying away because of the perception that Acapulco is a dangerous city to visit. And as is so often the case in the travel business, perception is more important than the reality. Virginia Goodnight, who lives in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, took a pragmatic approach to the problem.
The drug business in Mexico cannot be stopped as long as there is such a high demand for those drugs in the USA.
Well, thanks to Virginia and everyone else who wrote in. Please keep the emails coming to our usual address, which is on your screen now. Time for a quick break, but don't go away because coming up, Simon's here with his travel clinic, this time answering questions about what to do if you have dual nationality at passport control and dealing with tight connection times at US airports. Plus, we meet a man who claims to have the secret of how to work less and take more holidays. Sounds just too good to be true. See you after the break. Hello and welcome back to Fast Track with me, Fiona Foster. Now, travel might broaden the mind, but it can also test the nerve. And whether you're going on holiday or a business trip, knowing that you have the right visa, the right ticket, and the time to make that all-important flight connection is vital. So if you have a question about any of that, who better to ask than our own travel technician, Simon Calder.
Hello and welcome to the Fast Track Travel Clinic with me, Simon Calder. And let's start with one of the frequent travellers' perennial stress points, flight connections. Peter Oxlade from the far east of England, the county of Suffolk, has a ticket with United to the far west of the US, the state of Hawaii. He's flying to Honolulu via Houston and he has a problem.
We have only 1 hour between landing at Houston and catching the next flight. Will this allow enough time?
Good question, Peter, and one which thousands of passengers flying to the US every day find themselves contemplating. Every frequent flyer has stories about being stuck in queues at US airports for an hour or more, so it looks an implausible prospect. After immigration, you have to collect your bags, clear customs, recheck baggage, clear security and catch the Honolulu flight. But don't panic. As United told me, if the connection didn't work most of the time, then the airline wouldn't advertise it. And if your flight does arrive late in Houston or there's a hold-up at immigration, there are alternatives. The airline will rebook you free of charge on one of 20 other possible connections to Honolulu. One more option, travel with hand baggage only and you'll dodge a couple of the hurdles at the Houston hub. United allows one reasonably sized case plus a shoulder bag or laptop case. Marley got in touch because he's hoping to fly down to Rio from his home in Miami. He's a dual citizen of the US and Trinidad.
Currently, Brazil requires US citizens to acquire a visa before visiting the country. As a Trinidadian citizen, I don't need a visa. However, without a stamp in my US passport to prove where I've been, would this mean trouble when I return home?
Marley, I understand your concern. It could seem faintly clandestine to use your Trinidadian passport to get into Brazil and then your American travel document to come home. But in fact, it's a regular occurrence for many people with dual citizenship, as thousands of Australians who also hold European passports will testify. They use whichever passport is going to get them through immigration queues the fastest. Alicia has a simple question about her trip to Thailand in May.
I'm planning to spend 5 days on the island of Phuket. Where should I stay?
Alicia, of all the islands of Thailand, Phuket is my favourite. It's diverse, friendly and beautiful, which is why I keep going back. The best location depends on the size of your budget and how you want to spend your time. For 5-star indulgence, just padding from pool to spa to beach, there's a range of options on the west coast. And there's also the big resort of Patong. But personally, I prefer Phuket town, with traces of Chinese, Malay and Portuguese culture, plus great places to eat and sleep and good connections for exploring the island, whether you're in search of a secluded beach or you're inspired to hike the hills. Finally, back to my home turf. Marianne Anashko has got in touch from her home in Southampton to say she has a 19-year-old Costa Rican lodging with her.
He is anxious to see as much of Britain as possible. He only receives pocket money. Can you suggest cheap but okay hostels in London?
Marianne, a survey in March showed London is one of the most expensive cities in Europe, with average hotel rooms costing $160 a night. Luckily, there are plenty of budget hostels where rates are as low as $20 a night. Be warned that rates are likely to more than double during the Summer Olympics, but travellers in June or September can expect some real bargains. That's all we've got time for in this session of the Fast Track Travel Clinic. Do email us, fasttrack@bbc.com, and I'll do my very best to find you an answer. From me, Simon Calder, bye for now and see you next time.
Thank you, Simon. Now, it's no secret that Americans have something of a work ethic. They get only 2 weeks annual leave a year, which doesn't leave them much time to go travelling around the globe. So perhaps it's no surprise then that a man who says he's found the secret to working less while earning more has become something of a publishing sensation in the States. But has he really found the key to helping Americans burn their briefcases and swap them for suitcases instead? Typhon King has been to the Bahamas to meet him.
I am involved with tech companies in Silicon Valley.
Timothy Ferriss, author of the best-selling book The 4-Hour Workweek, has built a reputation for minimizing work while maximizing fun.
The basic premise of the 4-Hour Workweek is that you can design an ideal lifestyle. Let's say that incorporates travel, family, income, without sacrificing one for the other. And I spent several years looking at case studies, examining how different things work within companies like Google, Microsoft, to find the best practices for people who want to do that, whether they're a solo entrepreneur, a stay-at-home mom, or someone working in a big company.
It was a huge game changer for us, not only in business, but also in our personal lives as well. Number one is his 80-20 rule, where basically 20% of your clients or suppliers give you 80% of the business and money. So we literally X'd all the vendors that weren't making us money and causing us problems. That led us to have much more time and revenue to sort of follow our passion. So it was my husband, me, and our 2-year-old son. We packed up our bags and made our business mobile.
Another company took inspiration from the book. The Summit Series organizes entrepreneurial networking conventions headlined by famous business leaders, including Timothy Ferriss. They combine travel vacations. On this occasion, a cruise for 1,000 social entrepreneurs to the Bahamas, with concerts, partying, and extreme adventures.
Right, so next, we're going to be playing a game of tag with a slight variation. We're going to be playing with sharks.
I'm extremely ecstatic because I wanted to be a marine biologist for about 20 years.
You guys seriously move forward.
Our mission was to catch and tag sharks to to track and protect this endangered species and show them some love. But what everyone here really wants to get their teeth into is networking and hearing the experts talk.
And that's how it's done, team!
Launching the event is one of the world's most famous and certainly experienced entrepreneurs. Follow me.
So what advice did Sir Richard Branson have for a travel-flexible life?
The most important bit of advice I could give anybody is to learn the art of delegation. You know, the best thing to do is try to put yourself out of business. Find someone who's hopefully better than you to run the business.
But if that's not an option, Timothy offers advice on combining work and travel.
You know, for the last 2 years, we've moved from city to city every couple of months and set up a shop there. We rent a big house and we all live together. So in the last year, we've been in Tel Aviv, in Madrid, in Miami.
From Tony Robbins to authors of books such as Work Less, Live More and Take Back Your Time, there are others championing a fulfilling lifestyle. However, they all, including Timothy, have their critics.
So while the book has some great ideas, I really have major concerns with whether or not they're realistic. If you are a person that works a 9-to-5 job, not showing up for work one day, or ascribing to some of Tim's philosophies of not responding to phone calls right when they come in, not responding to emails, putting an autoresponder on your email, which is a creative one where essentially people write to you and then your email instantly writes back, I'm not available to respond to you, but at some point I will, probably will be a great way to become redundant at your company.
Perhaps a better philosophy is to find a job you actually enjoy and want to do for more than 4 hours a week, like travel journalism.
Tom Ferris, a man who claims to have burnt his briefcase for good and has made a fortune out of it in the process by the sounds of it. Well, that's it for this week. Do join us again next time if you can, when Rajan will be in France, the most visited country in the world, but according to a recent poll, also one of the rudest when it comes to tourists. Let's hope Rajan can get to the bottom of whether that accolade is deserved or not. In the meantime, don't forget there are a couple of places online where you can find the best in BBC travel. First, there's our website at bbc.com/fasttrack. And while you're there, why not click on the link to BBC Travel, where you'll find even more tips, inspiration and advice. But for now, from me, Fiona Foster, and the rest of the Fast Track team, thank you for watching and goodbye.